Okay, so hey everyone, I'll be solving the week 8 math quiz. As you can tell, I'm back. My bad for not uploading. Been a rough month or two, let's say, because of the IGs. Couldn't really upload. بس يلا, now we can upload as much as we want. Until طبعا June, Allahu Alam, when I have the paper 2s. Whatever. Okay, so question 1. 1 pint is 28.875 cubic inches. A lab technician has 2 pints of diluted acid that he will dispense in identical cylindrical test cubes. So, from the first sentence, or let's keep reading, each having a radius of 1 inch and a height of 4 inches. First of all, what do we have? We have 2 pints. Let me turn on the pen. 2 pints. Okay, so I'll write 2 pints because it's gone a bit. Okay, and he will dispense in identical cylindrical test tubes. So it's a cylinder. Each having a radius of 1 inch, so R equals 1 inch, and a height of 4 inches. So H equals 4 inches. Tamam. The technician fills up the test tube with 85% of its capacity. Okay, this is very important. And given that 1 point that's given up there, whatever, what's the maximum number of test tubes he will be able to prepare? Okay, so we have our volume of how much pints? We have 2 pints, right? So what do we use for the cylinder that has volume? Obviously the volume of the cylinder. And you should be able to recall that it is 4, or sorry, not 4, that's a sphere. It is pi r squared height. Okay, let's find the volume of one cylinder, one of the test tubes. So the volume of the test tube, we'll write Vt, equals to pi times 1 squared is just 1, or so we won't write it down. Pi times 4, which is 4 pi, right? However, remember, he said it was used to 85% of its capacity. So the actual capacity that's being used, let's write V used, Vu, is 0.85 for 85%, or 85 over 100, times 4 pi, which equals to 0.85 into 4 pi. So 4 pi equals 17 over 5 pi. Inches cubed, cubic inches. Did I write it here? No, cubic inches. Okay, this is the volume that is actually being used. This is what we need, right? Now let's turn this pint into cubic inches. Look, if 1 pint is 28.875 cubic inches, then 2 pints is going to be 28.875 times 2, obviously. So 2 times 28.875 is 57.75. So let's say volume of the pints is equal to 2 into 28.875 equals to 57.75 cubic inches, right? But remember, this is what is actually being used, and what is actually being used is this, right? The 17 over 5 pi cubic inches. So how many 17 over 5 pi cubic inches of cylinders will be used? Which is why we will say that n, any number of cylinders n, times 17 over 5 pi cubic inches is equal to 57.78, or 57.75 cubic inches, right? So now n is going to equal to 57.75 over 17 over 5 pi equals to, so let's do this, 17 over 5 pi, 5.41. Now, طبعا there is no cylinder that can give you 5.41, or there are no 5.41 cylinders. That doesn't exist. Because a cylinder is a thing. It's one thing. It's a whole number. It's an integer. So we always round this down. You never round it up. Even if it's 5.99, you always round it down to 5 cylinders, or 5 test tubes, whatever. Not gonna write it down. 5. So 5 is our answer. Okay. Moving on. Complete the grid. Consider the grid below. Points P and Q are on the grid, and PR is blah blah blah. Let me see. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. Okay, this is fine. Points P and Q are given on the grid, and PR is 2, -2. XY is a vector in the same direction. The magnitude of XY is twice of the magnitude of RQ. The coordinates of point R. So, okay, listen. The vector, to find the coordinates of the vector, it is always the terminal point minus the initial point. Always. This is your formula for the vector. Okay? Now, we want to find our coordinates of point R, which is also what we'll be using. We'll be using that same formula because we have PR and we have the initial point. So, listen, we have the vector PR, right? PR is our vector. So, it's going from P to R, meaning that R is the final point. So, it's R minus P, right? Now, we're just going to express this in the values that we have. PR is given 2 and negative 2, okay? R is what we need, so we're going to call it XR and YR. Minus P, let's check the grid and trace back what values of P we have. The X value of P is 1, so I'm going to write 1 is XP. And 4 is the Y value of P, so 4 is YP. Okay, so XR minus and XR YR minus 1 and 4. Okay, now you work this out like basically numbers and a box in mental math. You take this 1 and 4 to the other side, so XR YR equals 2 negative 2 plus, because this is minus, this is the sign changes, 1 and 4 equals to 3, or sorry, yes, 3 and 2, and this is your final answer. Remember, X goes with the X, so this is XR, or this is whatever, sorry, this is the coordinates of the vector, the X value of the vector, and this is the X value of the point P. This is the Y value of the vector, and this is the Y value of point P. It's always X with X, Y with Y. Don't flip them. Okay, so this is our coordinates of point R, which is 3 and 2. So let's just put this on the grid, right? 3, we trace it, and 2, we trace it. So here, this is point R. Okay, now, what do they want? They want the vector RQ. Okay, perfect. So the vector RQ. Let's erase all of this. As you can see, on the grid, anyway, it's 1x and 0y, right? Because we're moving 1 to the x value. We're shifting 1 horizontally, nothing vertically. Like if you check the grid, they're on the same y value, so no change in y. And they are on 1 x value apart. So, this is our answer. It's going to be 1, 0. But how do we know for a fact that this is true? Say we weren't given the grid. How would we know? Right? They just gave us the points. So you use the same formula. Vector equals to terminal minus initial. Okay. Now, we want the vector. We want RQ. Right? So, the terminal point is Q. It's going to be Q minus R. The terminal point is 4, 2. Minus the initial point, which is 3, 2. Right? So, X with X, 1, 4 minus 3 is 1. Y with Y, 2 minus 2 is 0. And this is the value of RQ, 1 and 0. Okay. What else do they want now? XY. Okay, this is nice because it's very easy due to the fact that they gave us the magnitude of XY is twice the magnitude of RQ and they are in the same direction. If that is the case, you just multiply by whatever number they give you. If they said 4 times here, it's going to be 4 times RQ. If they said 5 times, it's going to be 5 times RQ. Since we already found RQ and it's twice RQ, so we're just going to do 2 times RQ, which is 1, 0, which means it is, we distribute across the X and across the Y. It's going to be 2, 0, and this is the final answer for vector XY. Okay. Question 3. What is the radius of a sphere of volume 5,324 over 3 pi? Now, let me remind you of the formula for the volume of the sphere. The volume of the sphere is equal to 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Okay? We have the volume, so we're just going to substitute. 5,324 over 3 pi equals to 4 over 3 pi times r cubed. The reason I put this times is to make it simpler for me to isolate it, right? Because all we're going to do is 4 over 3 pi on both sides. Divide by 4 over 3 pi. Okay, 4 over 3 pi will cancel with 4 over 3 pi. Pi and pi will cancel. then you just do this. So let's do this on either on a calculator, you can use the equation solver, or just rewrite it in a much simpler way. Since r cubed is equal to 5324 over 3 divided by 4 over 3, right? So r, where's just the cube root of that? So r is the cube root of 5324 over 3 all over 4 over 3. But be careful on your calculator, because you might like put all of this in one fraction. Not like this is a separate fraction, this is a separate fraction. No, make sure it is like this order. So r on the calculator is gonna be cube root 5324 over 3. Get out of the current fraction I'm in, make the new fraction again with the fraction button, or all over 4 over 3, opening a new fraction again. So our value is going to be 11 units, since we don't have the unit specified. So our value is 11. Now, say you didn't want to use all this like all in one method, right? We'll go back here. We're gonna go right back here. So r is gonna be r cubed. Sorry, it's gonna be 5324 pi over 3 all over 4 over 3 pi. Okay. Evaluate this. Put this value on your calculator. So 5324 over 3 pi all over 4 over 3 pi. This will give you 1331. So then you take the cube root of 1331. So this is a 3, this is a 3. So r is going to be equal to 11, yes. 11 units. And this is your answer. Okay, the surface area of a sphere of volume 8788 over 3 pi is k pi, where k is a constant to be determined. What's the value of k? Now, remember that the volume of the sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. But here there's also a new formula that you should definitely already know. The total surface area of the sphere is 4 pi r squared. If you ever forget it, right, if you forget any of them but you know the other, just remember the total surface area of the sphere is the derivative of the volume of the sphere. So just remember that, and then you can find the total surface area from one of them or the volume from the other one. بس يعني the simplest way to know it is to just memorize it, because they're very easy formulas to memorize and you should have them memorized by now. The total surface area, we have it. So we want the sphere, we want the volume, we have the volume, we want the surface area. So 8788 over 3 pi is equal to 4 over 3 pi r squared, or pi r cubed. Okay, same thing we did with the other one. R cubed is equal to 8788 over 3 pi all over 4 over 3 pi, right? So now you do this on a calculator. R is going to be equal to the cube root of 8788 over 3 pi all over 4 over 3 pi. So this is going to give you 8788 over 3 pi over 4 over 3 pi. This gives me the radius of 13 units. تمام؟ But we don't want the radius like the last question. We want the surface area. So we're going to use the surface area formula. Total surface area of the sphere is equal to 4 pi times 13 squared. Which gives me, now everyone knows 13 squared is 169. So it's actually going to be 169 times 4 pi to give me 169 times 4 pi, 676 pi. And this is our total surface area for the sphere. Okay, question 5. 16x squared minus 8x minus 47 equals to 0. Now, طبعا most of you will already do this on the equation solver without thinking, but some of you don't have the equation solver, and honestly, what are you still doing without a calculator with an equation solver? But if you don't have one, you use the quadratic formula. So x is equal to, the quadratic formula states that x is equal to plus or negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so x is going to be equal to negative b, so this is a, this is b, this is c. b is negative 8x, right? So it's going to be negative of negative 8 plus or minus negative 8 squared minus 4, let's extend this, 16 minus 47. If you don't know where I'm getting these numbers from, they're all on the original equation they gave me. All over 2 times 16. Now, this, you do this on a calculator. This is going to give you, or if you want, we can simplify this. This becomes 8 plus or minus. This alone, this radical, is negative 8 squared minus 4 into 16 minus 47. Shows me 32 radical 3 all over 2 times 16 is 32. Okay, so now what you do is you take one of the cases. Since radical b is present in both of them, it's going to be the same radical value. So it's going to be 8 plus 32 radical 3 over 32, which gives me 1 over 4 plus radical 3. And let's take the other case, because you never know, they might ask you for the other case if it's different values for the radical. It's gonna be, in this case, 1 over 4 minus radical 3, and these two are your roots to this quadratic. Okay, alternatively, most of you will solve it on the equation solver, but some of you don't have it again. So here b is equal to the radical, which is 3 in this case. B equals to 3. Okay, question 6. If I can erase this, question 6. Okay, systems. This, you can solve it both ways. Let's first write it out in system notation. Y equals to 3x minus 1 and x plus y squared equals to 9. Now, you can either substitute this value directly in here, and then you're gonna have to expand it. But I'm not in the mood to expand, right? It's way too long and it's inefficient. What I'm gonna do instead is, I'm gonna isolate this, right? X plus y squared equals to 9. I'm gonna take the radical on both sides, so I'm gonna get x plus y equals to 3. But keep in mind, this is a radical. So if you take the radical, it can be either positive 3 or negative 3. So it's actually either positive or negative 3, right? Keep this in mind. When you're always taking radicals, it's gonna be positive or negative, the value. Never forget this. A lot of students do. So what we're gonna do now is system y equals to 3x minus 1 and x plus y equals to positive or negative 3. Right, I'm gonna erase this old one. I don't need it anymore. I'm gonna erase this as well for more working space. Perfect. Now this is the value. Again, we're just gonna substitute here like if you were to do it the first time, but except now it's gonna be much easier and there's no expansion. So x plus y in this case is 3x minus 1 equals to positive or negative 3. So this is going to be 4x minus 1 equals to positive or negative 3. But here now you need to read the question. The system has a solution a comma b. Now remember, in Cartesian notation or the Cartesian plane notation or coordinate notation, there's a lot of way of saying it. A comma b means x comma y, right? You all should know this. This is where this is important, where a is positive. So you're going to take the positive case, right? Let's solve for positive 3 first. So 4x minus 1 equals to positive 3. Take this to the other side. 4x equals to positive 4. X is equal to positive 1. And this is where this keyword comes in, where a is positive. Remember, a is x. A is equal to x. And since we just found the positive x value, means that since the a is equal to x, a is plus 1, or 1 in this case. You don't need to write the plus sign. Okay. In the xy plane, the graphs of two equations in the system above intersect at exactly one point, x comma y. What is the value of x? This is interesting, right? Because this year, something like this question came in the IGCSE paper 2 for math. And from what I heard, not in our school, but in other schools, a lot of people got this wrong. Because their teachers never explained it properly. Here, listen, what helps here is for you to draw a graph, right? So we're gonna draw it like this. Since this is obviously not meeting at any x-axis, this is when this solution will not have roots. Right on your calculator, you're gonna get imaginary roots, right? You're gonna get imaginary numbers for your roots. Let me erase this part, it's not nice. Okay, now this means that this is gonna be above the x-axis. Okay, this is not relevant, but this will be useful just to keep our drawings to scale. They want this line. This is a linear line. I don't really care what it's about, like this. You can see here, this is graphically what the solution will be. This point, we're gonna call this point A. Again, you don't need to draw this, but this is just to help your mind know what's going on, right? This is just to know what is happening. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna solve? So you can see here at this point here, right? The y value and the y value of both of them will be equal. So it's gonna be y equals y, right? So the y of this and the y of this are equal. So all we're gonna do is expand. We're gonna substitute the value of y for each of them. So 2 minus 4x equals to 2x squared plus 8x plus 20. Yes, so now we're gonna take everything to the other side and set it equal to 0. So it's gonna be 2x squared plus, take negative 4x to the other side, becomes positive. 8 plus 4 is 12, 12x, sorry, 20, and then you take this to the other side, it's gonna be negative 2, 20 minus 2 is gonna be 18, and this all equals to 0. Okay, now again, you should be solving this on an equation solver, but most of you, or not most of you, some of you don't have one, so you're gonna solve this normally, right? Factor 2 out, so it's gonna be 2 into x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals to 0, right? Let me just make sure. Yes. Okay, divide by 2, so you're gonna have x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals to 0, because you're dividing 2 on both sides. This cancels with this, and 0 divided by 2 is 0. Okay, now I just want to keep this above, so if any of you are following along with an equation solver, you can factor this, or you can use the quadratic formula. Let's factor. I'm gonna factor my way. Again, every teacher, from what I know, has a different way of factoring. This is just the way I was taught. I'm gonna factor by grouping. So I'm gonna need two numbers that add up to positive 6x and give me a product of positive 9. Right, so this is gonna be very easily x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. Okay, so this is gonna be x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. Tamam. So now factor whatever's in these brackets. X into x plus 3 plus 3 into x plus 3. So this is going to be x plus 3, x plus 3. So this is actually x plus 3 squared, whatever. Now, this is equal to 0, right? This is this, essentially. Again, you don't have to be following so far. And two, if you just have an equation solver, use the equation solver. If you're factoring in a different way, factor in a different way. Use whatever way is comfortable for you, as long as you get the solutions for this quadratic equation. Right? So we're going to set these equal to 0. X plus 3 is equal to 0. Since this is the same thing, I won't be taking it twice. X is equal to negative 3, and this is our answer. Now, say they asked you, what is the value of y? You have the x value, negative 3. Substitute, simply. Y equals 2 minus 4 into negative 3. You use a calculator, or this is just fairly common mental math at this point. This is going to give you a value of 14. Okay, so the actual point is negative 3 and 14. But here, in this case, they did not ask for this. You never know. The AMS, they tend to change it up, and I've seen this asked before. So, yeah. And just for you guys to know. Okay, you have this long thing, and you have the sum of the roots is 4. So I'm just gonna write this. The sum of the roots is 4, and the product is negative 6. Find the value of a. So they want this. Okay. Now there are rules to remember here. If you remember that the sum of the roots, I'm not gonna write sum of roots. That's way too long. Is negative b over a, right? And the products, I'm gonna write products of roots is equal to c over a. Okay, these are two rules you should know. Now what we're gonna do is we are gonna find B first. B is isolated in this term, in the C term, right? This is A, this is B, this is C. So B is gonna be very easy to find. B of the on the in this in the solution, not in the actual يعني ax squared plus bx plus c. You know what I mean? So 3b, or sorry, we know the product is negative 6, and 3b is located in C, right? So the product is C over A. Negative 6 is equal to C over A, which is 3b over 5. Take 5 to the other side. 3b is equal to negative 30. B is equal to negative 10. Now I don't need any of this working now. Okay. Now that we have this, okay, we need the sum of the roots, right? The sum of the roots to find A. The sum of the roots is negative B over A. Okay, we have the sum is 4. Okay, perfect. Now A is 5. So I'm gonna write down A. Now B is the very annoying one to copy. So it's gonna be negative. Remember the negative, it's negative B over A. Negative into negative 10 into 2A minus B. This is very annoying. I should actually put these in square brackets. Okay, now just the negative goes with this negative, so this is actually going to be positive 10 into 2A minus B all over 5. So I'm going to replace this with that to give me 4. If you're following along so far, good job. And why did it draw that? Whatever, this is technical difficulties, mashallah. Take this to the other side, or multiply by both sides. يعني 10 into 2A minus B is equal to 20. Divide by 10 on both sides. 2A minus B is equal to 2. Right? We have B. B was negative 10. B was equal to negative 10, if you remember. So 2A minus negative 10 is equal to 2. So this is actually 2A plus 10 is equal to 2. Take this to the other side. 2A is equal to negative 8. A is equal to negative 4. And this is your answer. Final question. Oh, this is annoying. Okay. Area of this triangle of the HGI. So I'm going to draw it in yellow because it's very obvious. HGI over area of the triangle HGJ. HGJ is the whole thing, the big triangle. Okay, equals to K over 25, where K is a constant to be determined. Now, here are some, for this question, you're gonna need 3 rules. the simplest one is the Pythagoras theorem. C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. But I like using it in a simpler way, which is C is the hypotenuse, is equal to A squared plus B squared all under a radical. Right? You can use any of these. They mean the same thing. And you need to know that the ratio of the sides, so it's going to be S2 over S1 is equal to K, and A2 over A1 is equal to K squared. These two rules are directly related. Keep them in mind. Okay, we want to find GJ. We want to find JG, GJ, same thing. So in this case, GJ is our C. So GJ is equal to radical 15 squared plus 20 squared, which gives me radical, this gives me on the calculator straight away 25. Okay, so we're gonna write this down, 25 units. Okay, now we want the area of this triangle over the area of the whole thing, this whole triangle, right? So we're gonna use these two rules that we have here. The K squared. Okay, what side do we have from area of the triangle, or from the triangle GHI or HGI? We have the hypotenuse. And what side do we have from the big triangle? Also the other hypotenuse, GJ, which is 25. So they want the small over the big. So in this case, S2 is 15, or with the hypotenuse of the small triangle, and S1 is 25, or the hypotenuse of the big triangle. This is equal to K, but this can also be simplified. So this is also equal to 15 over 25 can be expressed as 3 over 5, and this is K, right? But they don't want the ratio of the sides. They want the area. They want the area. So it's actually going to be k squared, which is equal to 9 over 25, and this is your answer. But they already gave you 25, so all you have to do is put 9 for k, and 9 is your answer. Done. Okay. This is the end of the quiz. Good luck, guys, for the next exams, and inshallah, physics and chemistry should be out soon.